Hello everybody, welcome back, and in this tutorial, as I said, we will cover the Shodan, but before we go on to the Shodan, I just want to show you the harvester from the previous lecture, which we couldn't get to work. Maybe if we try it right now, let me just locate it once again. So we will go user, share, go with Merrow tools, and then the harvester. Now I won't cover right now how to use harvester, since we did that in the previous tutorial, but I will just try to run it once again so we can see if it will work now. Now let me just type here the harvester, and as a domain we will use the same website we tried on in the previous video, which is this one. For the -l command we will list 500 results. Oops. And for the -b command we want to search over the Google engine. So if we just enter right here, we will just wait a few seconds until it searches Google, and we will see if right now we get some of the results that we couldn't get in the previous video. And as we can see, it will finish soon. It processed 400 results, and here we go. As you can see, the same website that in the previous lecture didn't work right now gave us some of the information. For example, we found a bunch of email addresses that belong to that domain, as you can see right here. We also found some of the hosts with their IP addresses that also belong to that domain. You can see portal, all-inclusive, and we found some of the email addresses that, if this was a company that we were testing, we could use in order to process with our attacks. For example, we could send malware to all of these email addresses and hope that some of them will open it. But I just wanted to show you that it works sometimes, so let's just proceed on to the Shodan, which is a website. So just open up your Firefox. So just open up a new tab and type here Shodan. We will click on the first link and it will lead us to the website where we can discover some of the vulnerable devices on the internet. As we can see, this website right here, explore the Internet of Things, monitor network security, and a bunch of other things. So we are on this website right now, and basically let us just search for some of the vulnerable devices. So in the search bar I will just type here password. And as you can see, we got 2 million results right here. We got some of the IP addresses. Let me just type here default password, so maybe it will show us the results of the IP addresses that have their routers configured with the default password. As we can see, this one right here, default name admin, password 1234, but it is unauthorized, so let us just go down here. This IP address right here, enable telnet SSH, username is admin and password is password. So if we click on this IP address, and it will open some of its information, let us just copy the IP address. We'll copy right here and paste it in Google. Now there is a good chance that this won't work. Let me just, before I type here the username and password, let me just check here what was it. I believe admin and password was username. Yeah, let's try with admin and password. Let me just refresh this and type here admin, and as a password, password. Now let me type it once again. Password. Yeah, sometimes it just won't work, since these could be updated, so they are not really vulnerable anymore. So someone could have changed the username and password, and right now we can't log in anymore to it. So let me just find another one. As we can see, this one, username Cisco with the password Cisco. The default username, let us just click on this one for now. The default username and password have a privilege level of 15. Please change the publicly known initial credential using here are the Cisco iOS command. So basically, if this one didn't change, we should be able to log in with the default username and password. So let me just paste it right here. And we are unable to connect right here. Well, it doesn't really matter. Even if you could possibly connect to someone and they didn't update it and they still have the default username and password, you shouldn't really do anything with it, since it is illegal to change other people's settings on their router. That's why people get notified here about their vulnerabilities, and they can just type here. Let me just show you how you can check yourself out. So just type here, what is my IP address? Basically just copy your public IP address right here, as it says, your public IP address, and paste it in the search bar, and if it finds something, basically it means that your device or your router is vulnerable to something. In my case it didn't find anything, since it is not really vulnerable, but in your case it might find something. Before we finish this tutorial, I just want to show you, for example, if you found out that your own IP address is stored on Shodan, that means that it has some kind of vulnerability. So in order for you to change that, for example, if it has a default password and username vulnerability, you will need to update your username and password in the router. So in order to find out what your router IP address is, you can just type here netstat -r, and the IP address that is located below the gateway is the router's IP address. So you can just copy it and go onto the Firefox. Let's open a new tab. And right here you paste the IP address and it will ask you for your username and password. So you just type here your username and password, whatever it is. If you do not know, basically just search the name of your router on the internet and it will show you the default username and password that you get in the configuration of the router. So if you didn't change it, the username and the password will be the same. So you can find the default username and password for any router on the internet. We do not want to save the username and password, so now we wait for it to log in. Let me just show you. For example, you can just type here on Google default router passwords, and you can just go to any website basically and just search your model of your router and find out what their default IP address is and also what their default password is. Now most likely it will be something like admin or admin password, but it could also be something else. Now this is the site I didn't visit before, so let me just check out, is there anything available here? So here you can basically just paste the name of your router and it will, let me just try with this one. So for example, let's say this was your router and you find out what the name of your router is, you just paste it right here and it will find the router you're searching for. It will also give you its IP address by default and the default username and password for that router. So once you find that out, you can just paste the IP address right here and it will log in. Now for me it is for some reason loading for too long. Let me just type here once again and here we are logged in. Now it didn't ask me for a username and password because I typed it 2 minutes ago. So now we are in my router. Here you can have a bunch of the informations. Now depending on your router, different settings will be on different places. It won't be the same as mine router. My router is an old one, so it will probably not look even nearly the same as mine does. So you just want to play with the settings a little bit and click on a bunch of things until you find the username and password changing section, where basically you can change your default password into any password you want. So once you do that, nobody will be able to log in into your router anymore with the default username and password. It is really important for you to do that, because if someone logs in, it can change any of the settings for the router. It can change the, for example, port forwarding, it can change your wireless password, basically it can change anything. So it is a pretty vulnerable device and you want to change that. Now, that would be about it for this Shodan website, and with that we finish the most part of the footprinting. We just leave the two tools in for the next lecture, which will be the dig and the DNS enum tools, which I will cover briefly, and after that we can continue on to the scanning section. So I hope I see you in the next lecture, and take care.